Why is it that crypto is so interesting to me and so many others? Well, the tech is cool, and I do love what the tech is doing, but the bigger reason is the ability to create the kind of wealth that can retire people early. Now, what does retirement really mean? Well, generally it means that your investments can fund your living for the rest of your life. There are a couple different ways to think about creating this kind of wealth and a couple of ways to pursue it. Now, I have a very specific approach myself. The other day I was networking with Brian, who has his own YouTube channel, and we were talking about his approach. And I thought it would be great to have him on the live stream so that all of you can hear his approach to financial independence, retire early, or FIRE. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Rain. And if you like money and crypto and you're looking for a seasoned investor's take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family. Do note I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a crypto investor myself, and I do own or plan to own much of what I talk about on this channel. I simply don't talk about crypto projects I don't see a future in. And we do want to thank our Patreon members. We have a pre-live stream that we do on Fridays for all our Patreon members, and we get to interact very directly, and I love those chats. Now make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show, and let's welcome Brian. Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, what's going on, Crypto Rain? Thanks for having me on, man.
Now, what is FIRE?
Yeah, I kind of want to set the table a little here because one of the reasons I reached out to you is that I've been in some kind of following something called FIRE since about 2016, and the idea is that if you ramp down your spending, you can increase your investments, and that you'll very quickly save enough where you can live on that nest egg for in perpetuity. And so there's a very specific formula that this follows. Generally speaking, first you have to really know your annual spending rate. And once you know that, so you do that by really tracking your spending and keeping track year over year and kind of getting a good average of how much you spend each year. And the way you track the formula is you track 25 times. If you save and invest 25 times your annual spending, that lets you withdraw roughly 4% per year, and that your portfolio will generally survive in perpetuity. Now, the reason where that number comes from, it was something called the Trinity study, where these economists looked at 30-year portfolios going back all the way 100 years based on 100 years of stock market returns. And they looked at different percentages. So they looked at like 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, et cetera, and then found out the rate at which they generally survived. And 4% was kind of in that sweet spot of acceptable risk where you're pretty much going to survive on that amount. Fortunately, 4% makes for easy math. So 25 times your annual spending, that kind of works well with the 4% number.
So let's do some numbers people can easily wrap,
so
that don't do math in our heads all the time. Say $40,000 is 4% of $1 million, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If somebody wanted to be able to retire and be able to retire in perpetuity, if they had $1 million earning some passive revenue for them, essentially they could retire in perpetuity if they kept their spending to $40,000 a year.
Right, exactly. Yep. And then, the math works differently. So if you only spend $20,000 a year, so you live somewhere with a very low cost of living, you should be able to do that on $500,000 or about $500,000. That generally assumes, the general assumption there is that stock market, you're going to be investing in index funds. So, something very, very passive, not really playing the market. Just relying on those returns, and generally speaking, you can plan for about 7% per year. That's with general inflation baked in. Obviously, inflation has done a lot of crazy things lately, so that can kind of mess with the formula a little bit. And of course, that assumes that you don't make another dollar, outside of that, which many people like you and I, we have YouTube channels that throws off some income. There are other ways of generating income. Some people choose to do maybe some consulting on the side, or something along those lines. So The reason I reached out to you is because I know you have some financial independence around crypto, and I've been kind of struggling with what that formula is for crypto, because crypto is such an unusual situation.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, those traditional models are based around stock and stock returns, right? And so crypto is its whole different animal, but it's really just a new tech sector in a new asset class called cryptocurrencies. So as we were discussing, I thought, the way you think about it is along the traditional finance route. Like, I don't know about the viewers, but I don't want to live off of $40,000 a year income. I want to live off of like 400,000 a year income, even if I then move to a cheaper place, right? Because yes, it's kind of nice. 40,000 a year income in a pretty inexpensive area, you can live pretty well. But what do the numbers look like, and what does crypto make possible? And so I wanted to invite you on so we could have this general discussion about retiring early, because that's really what it's all about. But you have a good way of thinking about it, right? So what can you get your net up to that then you can invest more in passive assets, maybe passive crypto assets, maybe some real estate assets. A lot of that model is based around what stocks can do for you. Crypto is in a hyper growth sector, but it will eventually slow down, right? And so you have high failures, high successes. The successes massively outdistance the failures with the returns, and that's why this space can be so profitable, where you can turn $1,000 into $1 million over one cycle if you're really, really, really lucky, or over two cycles if you're not just lucky, you're just smart. And so those kind of returns are amazing, because $1 million can retire you. If you have $1 million after tax and you invest it decently, you can live off those passive returns. But I probably, like a lot of the viewers, like I want to retire and live well. So what do those numbers need to get to? And Charles Hoskinson gave a number that I like. He said at $40 million, you can live pretty well for the rest of your life and not have to look at the price tags of things. You can fly first class. And as long as you have that 40 million invested somewhat decently, you can live very well for the rest of your life. You can drive an exotic car or two or three or four and still be pretty good, especially with where housing prices have gotten in the US and Canada and some other places. What those numbers are. But what's interesting is your model of 25 or 4% of your passive income and retiring off of that, or 4% of your total net that you've gotten to.
Yeah.
So now, what's your crypto story? I know we talked about it before,
Sure.
but the audience hasn't heard it. How did you get into crypto, and what attracted you to crypto?
Yeah, and I do want to talk about that. If I can address a couple of things about the formula, it does apply to different levels of wealth. You can, so I use like a 40,000 example. There's a such thing called fat fire, where people try to live on, they have much higher levels that they want to reach, so they can do that. So it really is it's an adjustable formula depending on what you want that number to live on. Obviously, the higher the the higher the annual spending, the higher net worth that you'll need to accumulate. And then the other thing I wanted to point out too is retirement is kind of a funny word, because a lot of people kind of rebel. They think about retirement as like living on the beach, drinking Mai Tais on the beach, and frankly, I think that gets boring for most people. I think of it more as I really focus more on the financial independence aspect of that, because it's about basically being able to do what you want with your day, and having the kind of money that you can say F you to people if you need, if you want, right? That can look like a number of different things. And then the one other point I wanted to make is there are people who feel that 4% is too liberal. They want a more conservative number. So some people do 3.5 to 3%, even lower percentages, to mitigate risk even further. But those are 4% is usually a pretty safe thing. So yeah, getting back to my crypto story, I was really interested in crypto early on, and I found it really the whole Bitcoin thing very intriguing. The one thing to say about that, I think a lot of people like kind of kick themselves for not getting into Bitcoin when it was in the well, when you could get several Bitcoin for $1, or back in the days when it was like $10 or even $100. What a lot of people don't realize about that is it was really hard to get into crypto back then. You had to send a money order to like some shady place that you haven't heard of, and I think a lot of people just didn't trust it. The on-ramps were not like they are now, where you have a company like Coinbase that's pretty reputable. So I think a lot of people going back to do it again probably still wouldn't get into Bitcoin. But I got into Bitcoin when it was in 2017 first, and I bought Bitcoin. I decided, I should probably start having some. I was seeing the returns, and I know there was Coinbase existed then, so it was pretty easy to get into it. And I thought, I should probably have some exposure to this as a small part of my portfolio. And crypto is still a pretty small part of my portfolio, though. As you know, it can go from a small part to a very big part very quickly, just because of the way the cycles work.
So you were doing mostly the traditional route, and you had a lot of your stuff invested in stocks and other things, and you found this new asset class, crypto. You got a Coinbase account, you put a little bit into crypto. You're like, I'm going to dabble in this, but just a little bit.
Yeah, and that was the summer of 2017, and as you know, that was right before one of the big bull runs. And I saw that winter, I saw crypto go crazy. My very small amount of crypto became much more substantial. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I've never had something that just increased this much in value like that. Then, you see, as you know, once you get into the height of the bull run, you can usually tell when you're there, because you start seeing people do just some of the craziest things. I mean, you see them borrowing against their mortgage to buy Bitcoin when it's at all-time highs, just doing making really terrible decisions. And I got really leery about that. And then when I saw, once the prices started dropping a bit, I said, okay, I'm getting out of this. Sold everything, made several 100%, probably even I think one of my coins I made even 1,000%. Like, it was a pretty huge return.
So
but on a very small amount.
X returns all the time. So you made 2 or 3x on some things, and you made 10x on one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I guess I thought it was pretty smart. I thought, yeah, look at that. I made a huge profit, put it into my stock investments, and then just forgot about it. Big mistake. It didn't get back in when the prices really, really dropped. And then they started going up again. I started kind of DCAing into it again. And then, then we had the run up where Bitcoin went up to 60-some thousand. And I was listening to some of the voices that were saying we were going to hit 100K or 125K, did not take any profits. And then it crashed. So I just held on to it. I pretty much have all my Ethereum and Bitcoin that I bought then. Obviously, I've become a big Algorand fan because of its very, very fast speed, very low transaction fees. So anything I do where anything that's involved with not just holding, but actually doing like DeFi stuff, pretty much doing most of that in Algorand. And so now I'm wiser and smarter, hopefully, and looking forward to the next, really accumulating for the next bull run.
So part of the reason I wanted to talk to you is just kind of the traditional mindset of retiring early, which there's some good numbers behind it. And so that we could also openly discuss what is possible through crypto and kind of my thoughts behind it. So there's 2 ways to think about investment wealth growth, and one is passive income and one is appreciation, right? So whether you're investing in real estate or crypto or stocks, a lot of your growth stocks have very low passive income, meaning they don't pay out hardly any in dividends. And then there are like dividend stocks that just pay out dividends, but the price appreciation isn't usually very much. And the same thing in the crypto space, right? Except in the crypto space, as we're finding out, there's very few reliable passive income strategies in the crypto space, because most of those that were paying passive income I was excited about, like BlockFi and Celsius, well, we know how that went. We know how Terra Luna and then Anchor Protocol went down in flames. And so passive income in crypto, well, there's Cardano staking, there's ETH staking, there's Algorand, there's some DeFi in there. I actually farm on Wanchain through Zookeeper. But there's few reliable passive income strategies right now through crypto. There's definitely the appreciation, though, which is where most of my investments have gone in crypto appreciation. And what's cool is when you're talking about retiring, you're thinking about what are your passive income combined with maybe some appreciation. But when you're in wealth growth phase, which most of us are in, you're thinking mostly about appreciation, right? So where can you go that you can grow massive wealth? Where can you go from $10,000 to maybe 500,000 in one cycle, and then maybe in the next cycle you reach 10 million or something? Well, crypto is one of the only places to do that within a 10-year time frame. There are other places, if you're lucky in stocks, you can do that over a 30-year time frame. And if you're lucky in real estate, you can also do that over a 30-year time frame. But crypto, we have this window of time that it's possible. So for you personally, where would your retirement number be that you would like to live off of on a monthly basis?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I live pretty frugally. I just don't feel the need to spend a ton of money, although that's inflation has obviously taken a pretty big cut of that. But for a while during the pandemic, I was living on like something like $1,200 a month. I just didn't. I was just had nothing to. It really cut my spending down to nothing. But typically, some months even less. Now and I live in, wisely counseled from yesterday. I will keep my general location to the Midwest, but I live where I live. It's pretty. I'll say my mortgage is like under $500 a month, and
Wow.
I have a 2-story, 1,500 square foot house, like a really nice in a really quiet neighborhood. So, and it's a good city. I actually like living where I live. So my expenses are pretty low. So 1,500 to 2,000, I'm pretty good. Of course, I can always find ways to spend more than that on various things. But
now, are you in a position, you've squeezed your expenses, you're in a position that you're putting a lot more into your investments, particularly your crypto ones, now that prices are so low?
oh yeah. I have a few different sources of income besides my day job. So I'm generally about last I was tracking, I was probably at about 50% savings/investment rate. Now it's like it's probably a less than that with inflation. It really did change a lot of the formula.
Bill Gardner had a comment. He says, mine is 0 a month. I don't know how you got to 0. That's crazy. Well, nobody's truly at 0 because we spend some money. Maybe your passive income is exceeding that. Maybe that's what Bill means. So yeah, that's great. So you have a few different income sources that you can really fuel money in. This is what I focused on the last bear market. And actually I'm going to do some more of that this bear market, because it's like everything's so cheap. This is where you really leapfrog ahead, is by fueling things. In the pre-live stream for the Patreon members on our private Discord, we were talking about like fueling in as much as you can during this bear market where everything's so cheap. That's really how you leapfrog ahead, because from these low prices, though it could go cheaper, it's like that's where the major appreciation is. And during the bear market, right? So there was this project I invested in January of 2019. And I want to give everyone some context of what we're feeling now and rewind just a few years back. And it's not even, I guess it's going to be 4 years back next month. So January 2019, there was this new project launching that had already done some NFT sales and sold some Axes, and then they were doing a land sale. So this was a new project. There was a team of 4 developers who were all young. They were like 18 to 25. And they had this idea that they were going to do a land sale, and they were going to build this battle game, and they were going to have some land, and the land, they would eventually make it so that you could traverse over the land and stuff. So there were 4 developers, and they did this land sale. And so I was like, oh yeah, land on the blockchain with a video game. That's an amazing idea. And I put over a couple months about $4,100 into it. And about 6 months later, it became tradable on OpenSea. The land did, and the price was going for about half of what I paid, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
Anybody here feeling like that with some of the investments you made?
Oh man.
Right.
I'll tell you. Can I share a story? I got into the Gala Games Townstar and I bought one of their NFTs for. I bought the lowest price NFT that wasn't the Gala Gold NFT, and I paid probably about, with all the Ethereum gas fees and such, probably about $300. And I think that one is going for like $14 on OpenSea right now.
Yeah, exactly. It feels rough. Like Vaccinated Anti-Vaxxer says, I've been there hardcore. Well, this story gets better because then for the next full year, prices even dropped from there, which is what everybody's feeling right now. You're just like, oh man, what a disaster of investment. And I was thinking about it, and like the team, like I saw this AMA sometime during that period where they interviewed the team, and that AMA was so bad. Like the team just looked bad. I was like, oh, what have I done? 4,100. I could have put that into something else, but I'm not going to sell at these lows. I mean, everything's cheap. Who knows? This, I think their concept is good, even though I'm scared about the team. And then all of a sudden, Animoca Brands invested in them and partnered with them. And I was like, oh, well, that's good. And we all know how Axie Infinity ended up going from there. And from that bottom all the way to the top, that land went up 9,000x. 9,000x. So there was a number of right things that came together, and that Axie Infinity came out. It was really the only true play to earn game, right? As economies were shutting down because of the pandemic, and you had places like the Philippines and stuff where people turned to Axie Infinity for like their day job, and that fueled a lot of investment. I ran into this guy at the Bitcoin conference that was like, oh yeah, I just put together $2 million to buy Axie Infinity land, and he was telling me, oh, I think it's the greatest thing ever, and it's a great investment, and we're managing these people working in this land is the greatest investment ever. That was right near the top of pricing. It went a little bit up from there, but I was like, he's borrowing massive funds to buy this Axie Infinity land. And I was like, okay. And he asked me if I wanted to invest. And I was like, I sold all my land a little while ago. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Wow.
But we're feeling like, just like Axie Infinity did down there at the bottom, and it depresses a lot of people and they want to get out. So a lot of people are positioned really well to make a massive wave of appreciation on this coming market. Now let's talk about, so long-term retiring, you live pretty minimally, right? And there is a wave of people that are going very minimalistic. But isn't there a part of you that wants to spend more? Because there's a big part of that in me.
Oh, well, so here's what happens. Because, when you first get into this, you think, oh my gosh, great. What can I cut? How far down can I go? And then there's usually kind of a reflex when you get to sort of a limit, and you're like, okay, I can let loose a little bit. So I've kind of bounced back, and now I just kind of spend what I want, and I seem to be pretty good. But I'm also like really minded toward, I just get excited about spending money on things that will produce a return for me more than, a lot of stuff I like to do. Like I love jujitsu, so I do that. I spend money on that. I love mountain biking, but that doesn't cost it. Once you have the bikes and everything, you don't really spend a ton on it. Yeah, I bought like a new fat bike so I could do winter biking, but other than that, I mean, and I'm not really. I mostly travel when there's like some reason to travel. I'm not really like a go places just for the fun of it type of person, which really, I think most of the fire community is the opposite of that. And I don't even know if I really consider myself part of that community anymore. I'm really more into the crypto community, and I've also become more about entrepreneurship. We've been really enjoying growing this channel and starting to see it return some income. And then I have a newsletter, like a local newsletter that on Substack that brings in some income. And I'd love to just be able to do those two things and those kind of be my focus. So that's one of the reasons I kind of push back on the word retirement, even though it's included in fires, because I don't see it as like retiring as in, kicking back and maybe playing golf on Fridays or something. It's more about like doing the things I want and not really being tied to an employer.
Well, so let's talk about so you've been investing in crypto. Now, what would you say your asset allocation is in crypto versus other traditional investments?
Yeah, at this point, maybe 5%.
Oh, that's still so low.
It's pretty low.
Maybe our
Oh,
rainmakers can help convert you, because like
maybe, yeah.
that's like super conservative. What you'll see is that 5% will end up being 50% or 100% of your portfolio. Like not 100%, but it will outpace the rest of everything by 100%.
Well, it was more before the bear market.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But right now is a great time. Like everything's down a little bit. Crypto is down a lot. And so, like, is it the bottom? It could go cheaper, right? Just as we used in the Axie Infinity. Like, I could go into other altcoins I invest in, like Cardano. I think my first purchase was like at 11 cents, and then 9 cents, and like 7 cents, and 5 cents. My lowest purchase was right around 3 cents, even though it went all the way down to 1.7 cents. And then it went the other way, right? So now we were just talking about Cardano in the pre-stream, and Cardano's gone all the way down to it's retraced 92% or 91% from its highs. It might go all the way to maybe 95% of what it was at. And then it goes the other direction, right? So Cardano took a 200x from the bottom. 200x. That's just mind-blowing. Like stocks don't even really do that. And there were other things that outperformed Cardano. Cardano was just one of the better performers, but definitely not the best performer. I wanted to get to this comment. Vaccinated, anti-vaxxer. Yes, read minimalism books. The more or less and goodbye things change my outlook. See, I've always been a little bit of a minimalist myself, which is why I enjoy the conversation with you. But there's part of me that just loves spending. So I'm about delayed gratification. And delayed gratification, everyone's probably heard this study, but it was like the marshmallow study where they like gave these kids a marshmallow and they're like, okay, I'm going to leave the room, but I'm going to come back in 10 minutes. And if you don't eat the marshmallow and wait till I get back, I'll give you like several marshmallows or whatever, right? So 90% of the kids ate the marshmallow. They couldn't wait that time period. The ones who didn't eat the marshmallow that had delayed gratification, well, later in life, as they track these kids, end up being their wealth outperform the wealth of the remaining 90%. And how true that is, that if we can delay gratification and put our money into smart investment vehicles, then we can have more to spend. Like, I don't particularly like marshmallows, but if it were like a Twix bar or a Snickers bar, I would have been like, okay, I want that Snickers bar. Oh, wait, I'll get like 5 if I wait 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. What if I wait 20? What if I wait? Right. Is how I would have thought about it, because I love these things, right? So imagine if you had everything go right in your crypto strategy, like say things went really well and you put a little bit more into it. Mm-hmm. What is like the most amount of yearly income that you could like still say it's only 4% of your stuff, but like what is that target number if you could get to that you would love to live off of, not being minimalistic?
You know, I mean, it's hard to say because I don't really feel like I'm that minimalistic, to be honest. Yeah, I'm trying to think. You know, I'm pretty happy with my house. There is one that's in my neighborhood that's probably quite an upgrade that I would like, but yeah, I have a really hard time answering that, to be honest. I mean, I can always, you know, I wouldn't mind a new mountain bike, I suppose. I always wanted a Mercedes too. You know, I like those little silver Mercedes coupes. I always thought that'd be kind of fun to have. But beyond that, like otherwise, I'm probably pretty happy. I mean, I could 35, 40K. I could probably spend pretty easily. Maybe it'd be more generous or something. I don't know.
So really, that's just $1 million in net worth, and that is so achievable. We were talking in the pre-stream about one of my heroes in the crypto space. He was a taxi driver 5 years ago. It's Chris from Crypto, and unfortunately, he doesn't make any more of the videos he used to make when I was new in the crypto space. And he used to dive in deep into fundamentals of the different altcoins that were launching as ICOs, and he was fantastic. Now he just covers Bitcoin, basically trading on leverage, but he still invests in altcoins, which is how he became a billionaire in just about 6 years, 7 years in crypto, which is absolutely ridiculous that somebody, I don't even know if he's 30 yet, is a billionaire from like 7 years in crypto, right? And he started as a taxi driver. So what I like about crypto is it allows you to dream big as long as you're still responsible about it. And what I like about your background and what I want to share with the audience is your way of thinking about it comes from a very responsible approach of thinking about retirement. And that was kind of my background, right? I had read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I had thought literally when I was in the university, I was like, if I could get to the point where I make $4,000 a month, I can live off of 2,200 after I pay my taxes. I can invest the rest, pay off my house early, and then I can buy a few investments and make enough passive income to live. And I would, and that was my goal, not realizing what was possible and thinking I was going to have to live frugally the rest of my life in order to be able to live financially free. That is one way of doing it, but what crypto allows us, at least for the next 10 years, can vastly exceed what we do if we buy, literally, we just counter trade the general population in crypto. So most of the people are running away. It's the time to run into crypto. And then when okay, maybe it goes down even further. We can't even tell if it will. Great. Just pour more in and then just wait. I invest pretty risky, right? So Algorand isn't, I don't have any Algorand. I have some Cardano, but even then, Cardano is a little bit not risky enough for me. Algorand's not quite risky enough. It's got a decently high market cap. We did cover Algorand with my friend Paul from the UK, who's a price analysis expert for 30 years. We looked at Algorand just yesterday, actually. And so Algorand's decent. It's done a decent retracement, not risky enough for me. I like the stuff that's market caps or 40 million or below, preferably in the 4 million and below mark, because those are the ones that they could go to an $80 million market cap if their market cap's at 800,000 right now, and that's still 100x. Or if you get really lucky and it goes to $1 billion market cap, then you've made 1,000, 1,250x, right? Crazy returns that in the stock market or financial industry wasn't even possible. You got to counterbalance that against, if you're investing that risky, some of what you're going to invest in is going to disappear and evaporate, right? So I say if you're diversified across 10, you're lucky. Well, you would be unlucky if 5 of those collapse completely, but it's possible that 5 of the 10x, if you were doing your research and not doing it very well, you might lose half of them going to almost zero. But still, as long as you were investing somewhat smart, that, 1 or 2 are going to 200x or more, and then 3 of them might just 30x if you had pretty mediocre picks. And that averages to about 50x overall, which isn't even possible in a 4-year period through most financial instruments. Stocks aren't going to do that for you. Other things aren't going to do that for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So you said 40,000. So if you got to 1 million and you have your house paid off, you're living pretty good.
Oh, very good.
So
part of it's just the fact that everything costs so much less here to begin with. It's such a low cost of living area, and I'm pretty happy here. I like the seasons. I won't tell you, like I said, I won't tell people where I am necessarily, but somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you joining us, Brian. Would you share some details about your channel real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I mostly talk probably about 90% about Algorand and the various things you can do it. My whole approach is I got sick of a lot of the hype around various projects. So my goal was to do the experiment. So when I do a video on something, I put a little bit of money into it, if it's something that you put money into it. And then I kind of do little experiments. I try to go out 6 nights or 6 months and a year and kind of give you a snapshot of this is how it's gone. And then I also tell you this is what I liked about it. This is what I didn't like about it, just so you guys can make an informed decision. Like I said, most of it's about Algorand. I do try out other play to earn games. Most of them have been kind of a disaster so far. Hoping for Townstar. Townstar is supposed to turn on the earn function. I'm actually wondering if that's not a bad time to pick up some of these really low priced NFTs that will help you earn more in the game. I might actually do that this weekend. But that's kind of my channel in a nutshell. People like my honest approach. Even the projects I review actually like my honest approach, which kind of surprised me. Even when I give them criticism, they usually respond favorably. That really surprised me. I thought I'd get more pushback from them. But that's kind of my channel in a nutshell, and I really appreciate you having me on. This is a great conversation. Can I ask you one question before I go? What was there? So I've talked a lot about the kind of like quit number, basically the number where your financial independence, you're financially independent in a traditional realm. But how did you know? Because you can't. I know. I understand you came from more of a real estate background before crypto. How did you know what number was your quit number, or was it just such a tremendous amount of growth that it was unquestionable?
Yeah, so I retired completely a year and a half ago. I'm actually going to come out of retirement just to fuel more investments because I'm greedy like that. Like it's nothing more than selfishness and greed, which I'm okay with. People say, "Oh, you're greedy." It's like freaking everybody's greedy. Like we all want more. Like what I never do is take from other people money I haven't earned. No way, because that's so short-term thinking. Long-term thinking is you always want to benefit other people. And so, yes, am I greedy? Absolutely. I don't want to go like I want to go to 40 million, then 400 million. So I'm going to be doing some work in along the lines of what I used to do, just to be able to fuel even more. Do I need to? No. So how did I know I hit that number? I vastly exceeded my goal of what I had for the last bull market. I didn't sell everything and take it out of the top, unfortunately, because like everyone else, a lot of that is pulled back. Some I had invested pretty well and it's seen very little retracement, but most of it's seen a bunch of retracement, and that's just part of it. So I did well enough so my very first cycle, I only caught the tail end of the 2017 market, but I fueled enough during the downturn and it did well enough during the upturn that perpetually I don't have to work again, because I'd be able to leave a lot of my investments in place and just sell some of those, even though they're way down, to continue paying the bills. The problem I have with that is that these are buy prices, not sell prices. So it's literally like cutting off my hand in order to feed myself during this time. And I just don't like that feeling. I want to be able to put $50,000 more, $100,000 more in at these prices, not be selling to pay the bills at these prices. So I'll be doing some traditional work again, even though I don't need to. But that's just the greedy part of me, that I don't want to just live off of, say, 40,000 or even 100,000 a year. I want to be able to retire nicely at like 400,000 a year or 500,000 a year, spendable money, and not even worry about it. Right. So why? Because crypto makes it possible. If I didn't know that if I didn't know that was so achievable, then I would have more modest goals with that. I do know that's absolutely achievable. We've seen Chris from Crypto become a billionaire in a period of 6 or 7 years. Is that possible for everyone? No, Chris is exceptionally smart. It's not possible for everyone to go to $1 billion in 6 or 7 years, but is it possible for everyone to go over millions? Yes. But they have to be smart about it and not FOMO into things, set the emotions aside. And when everyone's running away is the time to be buying. When everyone's like, oh my gosh, crypto's going to go up for forever. Like, listen to them say that and think, oh my gosh, I better be doing the opposite.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you answering that, and I definitely appreciate you having me on. Hope it was informative for your audience, and look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
Thanks so much, Brian. Great. Well, I wanted to bring Brian on and just share with you kind of his way of thinking about it. And it was refreshing for me, because I actually used to think about it exactly that way until, I learned through a mentor in real estate how to really take on acceptable leverage in real estate and amplify the gains. And then when I found crypto, part of what got me excited about crypto is what I saw was possible because of these huge cycles that we have. Now, we do have huge cycles, and right now it feels like, oh my gosh, it's so low. This is crushing. I'm tempted to sell everything. This is not sell time. This is make as much as you can through your day job and be plowing money into the good cryptos out there that have good chances to survive. This is an amazing time. This is a time that you will look back and wish you had been like so pounded with your emotions getting pounded, and you had just poured in as much as you can. And this is what I did last time. And yes, it was hard to follow day in, day out, everything, but I continued to put in every extra penny I could because I know how these cycles go. Let me see what comments I missed. I know I missed some at the beginning, so let me catch up to that. Bill Gardner says, Copy to the moon. Absolutely. I love cornucopias. Their project been so transparent, really cool. I was able to play at the Cardano Summit in Vegas. I was able to play their racing game. Somehow got like third in their racing game, which was crazy. My first round absolutely sucked. But they went for the best lap, and so by the second lap, somehow I got an amazing lap time. Their world looked really cool and it was fun. You were supposed to find this guy on it, and if you found the guy, then you actually earned an NFT. So I think only about 5% of people actually found that guy, and he changed places every time they reset it. So let's see. Web Zombie says, yo, Bill Gardner, what up, Rain? Rainmakers Unite, says Pete D. Now, this was an interesting comment. I'm not sure what John James Power means. Crypto Rain, since you've done that dance, you've gone down, get dance lessons and do it right. You will be forgiven. I'm not sure what John is talking about, because there are some things that I am not good at yet. Dancing is not one of them. I am fantastic at dancing. Anybody who's seen me on the dance floor knows. Of all the things that I'm weak at, dancing I'm not weak at dancing. All right. So I've been eyeing Spider Tank's NFT Gala Games, but couldn't even play the game because it fails to launch. My guess is Gala Games does pretty well, and some of their games that they've launched do pretty well. Gala has an interesting model. Myria is kind of coming in to compete with them. I think both of those end up being some of the big ecosystems within crypto. I also help what Devio is doing with Litcraft. Kind of falls in that same space, right? Litcraft is actually going to be licensing out some games that you're already familiar with and building them within the Litcraft space, using their Devio blockchain, which can handle millions of transactions per second. Is kind of a showcase of what's possible to then attract other big title games to come build on their environment. I think we looked at this. Yes, read minimalism books. Oh, yep, we definitely looked at that. Degen. I am definitely a crypto degen. Interesting. I hadn't heard this. Didn't some South American country, I think Brazil, pick Algorand to be their national adopted currency? That's interesting. Let's get to this. Buckeye Painter, what's the latest with Freeway tokens? Seems like they're trying to trade their way out of the mess they created. Yeah, right. According to the story, they had a catastrophic failure. We don't know what percentage of funds was lost. I think that's when Japan did some things with their currency, and it flipped way against everyone's expectations. And that's what I heard caused the mess. They have had pretty high transparency. They've been doing these calls with everyone who has over $50,000 on their platform, as well as they've opened up access to people outside the US that invest over 50,000. They've essentially turning over their algorithm. And people are able to see the actual trades and how much they're making on them and what they're losing, what they're making, and their average returns are doing pretty well. And what this does is shows that their algorithm could be completely real. And so that transparency is going pretty well. And I think that's why their token price is coming back up. As far as opening back up so people can withdraw from their platform, really that comes down to how much did they lose, right? If they were supposed to be some breaks in place so that they couldn't lose more than 1% per day. Supposedly that control mechanism didn't kick in for some reason, and their losses were much higher than that. We don't know what that number is. So yeah, I mean, you could say trade their way back into I guess whatever percent was lost. I don't know what percent was lost. Bill Gardner says, love getting the free crypto. PD says, appreciate it, Brian. What's up, fam? Yep. It is DCA o'clock. Yeah. Brian needs to be up his 5% in crypto to be 95% in crypto. Yeah. All right. Yep. There's Brian's YouTube handle. Need to get Brian in on Vivi, right? Buy red, not green. How true that is. Got some more AGIX. Buckeye Painter says good price. So let me make sure we get to our Wanchain giveaway so I don't leave that out. Who's ready for the Wanchain giveaway? Are you ready? Now, Wanchain has been good to us, and we have a strategic relationship with Wanchain. They give us 500 Wan to give away for our Friday live streams. Now, here we go. Here's the question. And the first person that gives the answer on my screen, because my screen is kind of like the neutral arbiter, because what happens is your answer, it will always show up to you faster than anyone else's answer is. So sometimes you'll see that you're first on your screen, but it's the one that comes into mind that I have to say is the first. On Twitter, you can find that there is a new video series to keep people updated on Wanchain, and it's called The Wanderings. What is the title of episode 4? First person to give me the title of episode 4 of Wanderings is our winner for this day. Bonus, if that same person also, right after their answer, can tell me who is the narrator on that, you get a bonus 25 Wan. While you're working on that, there we go. The keeper in the zoo. That is Pete D. So Pete D, if you also can tell me who the narrator is, and you'll either know it or you won't right away. But if you know it, you'll get a bonus 25 Wan. Ryan S. was right after him, and GSE was right after that. Web Zombies knows the answer. No, it's not Wei Zhang. It is Dub Digital is the voice on that. Yeah, Dub Digital, our friend. I haven't done a stream with him in a long time, but I love Dub. He's got an analytical mindset. He has a technical background prior to crypto, and so I like the way he analyzes things a lot. So yes, Pete, shoot me PM with your through Telegram with your probably your MetaMask address, or if you have a Wan mask, send me that, and I will get you 125 Wan. All right. Other things that were going on. Well, generally the crypto market is in the tank, and as much as this sucks, it's a great thing. I was checking out, here's Bitcoin's price and the massive retracements. You'll see like the momentum slowing down, right? It's not going down at the rates that it was. And that doesn't mean it can't wick down to 14,000. It just means we're somewhere near the bottom, most likely. Now, the SEC in the U.S. seems like, the chairman of the SEC, we're just getting started to go after the crypto industry. And yes, it seems that his intention is to break it. But I don't know. He's somewhat in an unstable position because he was massively in bed with Sam Bankman-Fried, who has turned out to be one of the greatest fraudsters in the past billion years. And, so I hope more about what they were discussing in their frequent meetings comes out, because I don't think he's any friend to crypto. And I don't think Sam Bankman-Fried was any friend to crypto. In fact, Sam Bankman-Fried did a lot to ruin a lot of crypto projects, to steal their liquidity, to try to shore up his own funds, because they were essentially taking their users' funds and using them to take leverage positions, and they were losing. And so they ruined a lot of projects trying to shore up their own accounts because they had more funds. And so honestly, Alameda Capital and FTX. I'm super glad that those people are wiped out and out of the business, because I think they destroyed a lot of good projects along the way in order to try to fix their own books. Yeah. Isn't Gary Gensler supposed to protect investors? Well, that's the stated intent, right? That's what the SEC is for. Is that what they're really there for? Do they understand that as their mission? No. That is what they're supposed to pretend that they're doing. What they're supposed to do is they're supposed to protect the current politicians and the current entrenched power. This is the problem with regulators. Over time, the regulators always get in bed with the largest players that they're intended to regulate. So as much as people say, we need regulation to fix this, we need minimalistic regulation. We need like stoplights. Stoplights are great, telling people when it's good to go, when it's red, and when it's yellow, and kind of a warning or a little bit of a cautionary flag. What regulators like to do is they like to put people as crossing guards with stop signs, because then essentially, if you think about what the type of regulation they like to get in there, so essentially you have to come to them and lobby to get their no to a yes, because that's what gives them power. Yes, so that they can fill their pockets. You know, I hope through Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang, we find out about all these discussions with Gary Gensler, but probably like Epstein's client logs that should have come out through that. What was the name of that gal that was working with him? How somehow like all those names and stuff were kept hidden. I doubt very much on these meetings with Gary Gensler and Sam Bankman-Fried is going to come out. Should, if the government was focused on being transparent. Is that the government's focus? It's supposed to be, but it rarely is. All right. Isn't Gary Gensler supposed to protect investors? That should go down as the quote of the day. Yes, he's supposed to. Is that his real goal? I don't see evidence that that's his real goal. All right. So this is where OMI's at. OMI's been getting tanked. Bitcoin is down. Now, OMI, I've been watching carefully to see where the bottom is. Hope it goes up. A lot of these high-risk altcoins are way down. This looks similar to the OMI charts, right? We had a little bit of a relief rally and then came down. I have no idea what this line is supposed to be doing. That's not grabbing. Generally, if we were to go here and go to CoinMarketCap, like I generally don't invest in these early ones. We see Cardano's now number 9. Remember when we did those videos way back when, though, and we were saying who was going to win, Cardano or Polkadot? And I did suspect that Cardano was going to come out the leader. Well, we can see Cardano is ahead. Their total, let's see, their market cap sitting at 9 million and Polkadot at 5.1. I said 9 million, but it's 9 billion, and Polkadot sitting at 5.1 billion. Solana way down at 4.3 billion and probably has some more to go down. Here we start getting into the more interesting stuff, right? So this is the stuff their market cap's under $1 billion, and it really gets interesting for me in probably about the 5th page in, where market caps start getting below 40 billion. And these are the ones that start getting interesting to me. Here's Wanchain at a $30 million market cap. So below 40 million starts to get really interesting. And then a lot of my stuff is in the market caps where they might only be $1 million or less. Those are super risky. Their chances of failing are pretty high, but the chances of these failing is just a little bit less, right? So is something that's even 1/10 the market cap of these, their chance of failing might be 20% higher. But if they don't, their potential returns is a lot greater. So that's a lot of what I'm looking at, right? We see Orion Protocol all the way down here. Orion, I'm pretty disappointed with. Orion, I was following, they were doing like a decentralized exchange, which they're supposed to have a whole bunch of tokens on it. And I liked what they were doing, and they had some really good momentum. They just didn't keep delivering, and a lot of competitors came in, and so they no longer stood out. as all their competitors came in, and they've just kind of gone to the wayside, as well as the whole market's pulled back. So that's part of it. But their technology is no longer groundbreaking. I don't know that they're going to be in any special, like very special in the future. All right. So that's kind of where things are at. Can you retire early from crypto? Absolutely. We've already seen several instances of people becoming billionaires, right? So Sam Bankman-Fried became a billionaire by cheating, but some legitimate people, right? So Chris from Crypto, his business partner, Mo, I don't know if he's worth $1 billion, but he's worth at least several hundred million. Then there's Carl from the Moon, and these have all been friends. Chris is the exceptional researcher there. And so research does pay off, right? When I was new, Chris wasn't worth what he is now, but he had enough because he had a YouTube channel. He was able to invest in pretty much any ICO he wanted, and he would do good research. And he got into some of the ones that were hard to get into, but it was the research that told him what was good to invest in. Now, what's great about the research, and even if you don't have connections, like a YouTube channel with 500,000 subscribers so that you can get into whatever ICO or pre-sale that you want, it doesn't matter because we're in a time in the market where prices are better than pre-sale prices. So if you're able to do your research, you're able to pick up some amazing gems at better than pre-sale prices that when the market recovers, they have a strong chance to do really well. So even if you don't have the connections like Chris did in 2017 to get into any ICO he wanted, he was still very selective and he picked some gems out of that. Well, you're in a similar possibility because all this stuff is freely trading on the market. Stuff, particularly, I'd be looking at stuff that launched between a year to 2.5 years ago, that the price has been savaged, even if they'd launched before the bull run. You can see what their price went up to, and now it's come back down. And so you're in a position that there's all these gems out there. They're freely tradable on the market. You have an idea. A lot of their pre-sale tokens have already vested. So sale tokens aren't going to be dropped on your head. There might be some vesting to the project itself or to the team members that still could be put into circulation and put downward price pressure on the price. But what's interesting about that, when a project does really well, even that will only just slow down the growth by a little bit. Because looking back to 2017, it was a very different market. And a lot of times when those projects launched, most of their token supply became available and tradable very, very quickly. And still we saw some crazy appreciation numbers with some projects doing 100 or 200x, even though 70% of their token supply became available really, really quickly. All right, everyone. That's all I have for today. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate all of your comments as well. If you haven't already, would you take a minute and hit that like button? I know I don't request this much and I forget about it because I just try to add value to you. If you can do me a solid and just try your best to remember and like the videos, it does help the algorithm so that we can grow a little bit. And the goal of this channel isn't to become huge. The goal of this is to attract the right type of people. We already see in our Telegram community, if you haven't joined already, join that because we've attracted the right type of people there. Our private Discord, we've attracted the right type of people there and the type of environment I always wanted to create. So would I like the channel to grow bigger? Yes, only to the point that we keep getting the type of people that we're looking at. I think I made the naughty list of YouTube like a year ago when I talked about some of my thoughts on requiring vaccines. And yeah, all of a sudden, I think I made some kind of shadow ban list. So the growth has been stalled. We can override that by people liking the content a lot. It will push it up and it will give me more exposure. Yeah, thank you, vaccinated anti-vaxxer. The channel will grow again in the bull market. I did make some kind of, 3 times I talked about my feelings on things because I like being real. And I did severely get punished almost immediately. The growth just tapered off tremendously, instantaneously from those mentions within days. Oh, well, I won't take back what I said because it turned out to be exactly right. But Yeah, that's what speech suppression is all about, right? Thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time. You know what this wrap is all about. This wrap is for all of you. Oh, and shoot, our Wanchain partnership was not here, but yes, we're definitely still strategic partners with Wanchain, and they're good to give us those. And I love the technology behind it. I do expect amazing things from them in the future. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you soon.
Into the space, chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, shit bad before you could. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I take the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. The principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, go parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this wrong cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, let the haters be crafting. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough. And that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.